When I think of fate's worse than death, all I can think of is something you said. You said we were golden, bright like the sun.
Fantastic.
Nous sommes au Café de la Danse en compagnie de Dallas Green de City and Color à l'occasion de la sortie de son 4e album, The Hurry and the Harm. Hi Dallas, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
We're good, thanks for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
How is it going since the record has come out?
Same old, same old.
Yeah?
Yeah, I'm happy that it's out. It's nice to be, to finally have it out. I mean, I recorded it a long time ago now, so.
Great. Well, we're going to focus on the record because we're going to go through all the songs.
Oh,
like
great.
Do track by track, okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so the first song is the title track,
Yes.
which pretty much sets the foundation musically to the record.
Sure. Is that what you think?
I think so.
Okay.
You
I'll
don't
go with
think
that.
that?
No, yeah. I mean, sure. I mean, I didn't look at it like that,
Mm-hmm.
but that's great. I'll take that as a compliment.
Okay. Even in, I mean, the name of the record comes from
Yeah.
this song.
That's definitely the song, obviously, that inspired the name of the record, and just seemed like the right song to open the record with once they were all finished. Yeah.
What does it mean to you? Why are we so worried about the hurry and less about the harm?
For me, I think it's just sort of a general observation of the past few years, I guess. I guess more than a few years when you look at how society seems to be moving in this really fast-paced direction, kind of like, it feels like our generation has adapted this "you only live once," the YOLO kind of thing, and like everyone, whatever they think, they put it on the internet for people to read, and everyone wants their information as quickly as possible, whether it's the truth or not. They just want everything. So it's kind of, that's what it seems, to me, that's what it seems, what is sort of taking over, that sort of attitude is taking over the way we are, and that's what inspired the song.
The second one is called Harder Than Stone.
Yes.
And it shows off the strength of the full band sound, I think.
Yeah, I would say so. There's a good sort of backbeat to that one, and lyrically, that song is sort of a glimpse into how my mind was divided creatively when I was in Alexis on Fire.
Yeah, it goes back to Born and Ready.
Right, because I wrote those.
Yeah.
Started to write that song musically and lyrically years and years and years ago, but ended up taking some of the words, obviously, and putting in the Born and Ready, but then was sort of stuck with no direction for that song. So I left it for years, and then finally readdressed it and just said I'm gonna just use the same lyrics.
Okay. The next one is called Of Space and Time, and it's kind of reminiscent of your older songs, I think.
Well, I think
organically.
Yeah, I think that has a lot to do with. I wrote it. Actually, started writing that song for. It was supposed to be On Little Hell, but at that time we tried to record it. I think we spent a whole day trying to record that song, and it just didn't. Sometimes you think you have an idea of what it's going to be, and you go start to record it, and it presents itself in this completely different way, and just. So I gave up on it and left it, and for me that's usually a sign that it's not ready. The song just isn't ready to be finished, and that was the case. So I think that's why I've heard more than one person say that it reminds them a little bit of older songs, and so I think that's probably the reason.
And it's definitely a song about you leaving Alexis on Fire, or Alexis on Fire splitting up.
Yes.
But it was not done yet. But in your mind, it was over.
Right. So I think that has a lot to do with it as well. The reason that song wouldn't take shape is because I was going through it. I wasn't past it yet.
Okay. What's the next one about? The Lonely Life.
The Lonely Life is just sort of like it's a kind of a grand what if question story. You know, like what if you just made a decision in your life that led you down the wrong path and you realized that it was the wrong one? What would that make of you? You know, where would you be? So it's kind of like a glimpse into the future that could be, and sort of, you know, realizing that it's not what you want.
Okay. Number 5 is Paradise.
Paradise is a lot. It's sort of in this. There's like a little umbrella of them that a bunch of songs I think fit under on this record. Harder Than Stone, Space and Time, Paradise, kind of that. You know, that sense of longing or the search for something, some sort of happiness, something else, something better than what I was going through or where I was in my life.
Could you tell us about Wendell Berry and the piece of Wild Things?
Yeah, that's a poem that I read sort of while in the middle of writing the songs, and it just, first of all, it introduced me to the rest of his writing, which I later became a big fan of, but it just got me excited about singing, and it got me excited about my songs again, because I could sort of, what I took from that poem was when troubles, you know, fill his mind, he goes to the land to remind him of who he is, because he's a farmer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started to think of whenever I am, you know, down, or, you know, when I find despair in the world, I usually turn to music to help me through it, and so it made me much more excited about that again.
Okay. He's not really famous in France.
I don't think he's very famous at all, really. I mean, I wouldn't say, you know, you don't hear his name a lot when you talk about the big names of poetry, but I think his stuff is beautiful. And I don't relate to most poetry. A lot of people would assume with the way I write songs that I'm a huge poetry fan, but I don't read any of it, really. But something about his words just really speak to me.
Okay. The next one is Commentator.
Yes.
It's all the message.
Commentators is like my hip hop beef song. You know, like if I was a rapper, and I was trying to, like, you know, trying to diss somebody, that's my song. But I happen to write, you know, I have a pretty singing voice, so I can't really do it. I can't rap.
So who are you biffing?
Just people like the faceless, you know, the sort of faceless, uninformed commentating that goes on in our day and age. It kind of goes back to the hurry and the harm as well. Like, I just feel kind of disgusted by the fact that a lot of people's contribution to society is, you know, you're a faggot, or, you know, some sort of racist remark on YouTube because they don't agree with something that somebody else said, or the fact that you can just tweet whatever you feel to somebody, something that you would never say, you know, in real life. You know, like the other day, my wife read me a tweet that someone said, Dallas Green and Leah Miller are such an ugly couple. Why would you say that? Even if we are, why did you feel the need to put that on the internet for other people to read? You know, what's the point of that? What are you doing for everyone else? Nothing. So that's kind of what that song's about.
Isn't it about insecurity?
I think so. Well, that's what it seems to be, right? It seems like you could never feel good about yourself, and you would never feel confident enough to say that or say what you're feeling to someone else. So, you know, why not try and chop someone else down to make yourself feel better? And that's what it seems like a lot of people are obsessed with these days.
And you think it all came with the internet?
No, but it gave everyone a platform to do so, right? Obviously, there's always been people, you know, there's always been rude people, but it just seems like technology is giving all of the rude people a platform to put their opinions out there. It's kind of ruining manners.
Okay. Thirst is the new single.
Yes.
First single of the record. And I read that it was a song you wrote for someone else.
Yeah, I was the first time I'd ever really tried to do that. I'd never been approached or, you know, thought that I could just write a song and give it to someone else and they would like it. So I just gave it a shot, and it didn't work out, obviously, for that person, but the more I listened to it, the more I enjoyed it, and what it did for me was it proved, I think, that I don't have to be so completely connected personally to the lyrics, and I can still write a song that I love. Because for the longest time I've just felt like I needed to write about something personal, something in my life, in order for the song to mean something to me. But that just told me that I don't have to do that, you know, maybe not all the time. I can just write a song or a story and it'll be a good song I like.
Who was it written for?
I was supposed to, we were presenting it to Kimbra.
Kimbra.
You know Kimbra?
No.
Did you hear that song, Somebody I Used to Know?
Oh yeah.
She's the Girl.
Oh, okay. Alright.
But I guess, yeah, it just wasn't for her, or somebody didn't show it to her, or whatever, it doesn't matter.
Is it something you would like to do in the future again?
No.
No. Really.
I mean, if somebody were to ask me, I would maybe
Yeah.
give it another try, but it's not something that I'm striving towards, or that I take it or leave it.
Okay. Could you tell us about Two Coins?
Two Coins is my favorite song on the album. You know how we were talking earlier about how sometimes you have an idea of what you think it's going to sound like when you record it, and then it turns out completely different. Two Coins sounds exactly how I always imagined it would be.
Okay.
Like when I wrote that song and I demoed it, and I had this grand idea of what it would be when I finally heard the end result, and that's exactly what I wanted it to be.
Okay. In the song you say, "I've always been dark, with light somewhere in the distance."
Yeah, I think that just kind of sums up what my songs tend to be about, or tend to deal with. A lot of people sort of, I guess, would dismiss me as just a sad songwriter, but I think that if you look into the lyrics, I deal with heavier topics, but there's always, I think, a bit of hope or light at the end of the song.
Yeah, I think a lot of fans would relate to what you said. I mean, would agree with that.
So that's what I think that line. Yeah, I think that line just sort of represents me as a writer and as a person.
Okay. What can you tell us about Take Care?
Take Care I wrote for myself. So when I sing that song, or when I was writing that song, although it sounds like I'm saying it to another person, I actually was it was in a dark time for me in my life, and I wasn't necessarily, being good to myself or people around me, and you just sort of like a rallying cry to myself to just kind of be better.
The next one, Ladies and Gentlemen, so really good.
Yeah, Ladies and Gentlemen is probably the darkest song, I think. I had this idea, there's an old Howlin' Wolf song called Evil, where he talks about, it's more about, I think, his song is more about a man, leaving town and his woman cheating on him with one of his friends. And he talks about how that's evil going around. But for me, I had this idea that I wanted to write a song about sort of from the perspective of evil things, and then talk about how that sometimes seems to encompass the world, And that's kind of what Ladies and Gentlemen is about. Pretty weird, I know, but I don't know. It just kind of came to me when I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah, it's pretty dark, but still. In the song, you say "good luck."
Yeah, because that's kind of how sometimes it feels that way, when you look at, I was just watching today, watching all the protesting going on in Turkey, or the drama in Syria right now, and just the world is kind of flooding also at the point. I don't know if you know, if you've been seeing the news, Europe is basically underwater. So just things like that, and that's what the news tends to focus on, is always the bad parts, the bad things that are going on in the world. And so sometimes it kind of feels like you just have to say good luck, to everybody, because who knows what's going to happen in the future. I don't know why I tend to write about. I just feel better when I write about things like that, rather than a really good Nutella crepe I had. I don't feel like writing a song about that,
Do you think we should focus more on what's right and what's working in the world?
Well, it would be good if we all did that, but that's not how we are, right? Humans are self-deprecating, So.
The Golden State, which I guess everyone thinks is about how you dislike California, but it sounds more about the fact that you dislike the image of California and like
Yeah, it's more.
all
I
the
think.
business, and also about your love about Canada.
Well, it's more. It's more of a, yeah. I think what it is it's meant to be somewhat tongue in cheek, a little ironic. Obviously, I'm.
Yeah.
You know, but it's mostly just saying it's not for me. You know, it's not that I don't. Basically, if anyone that lives in California listens to that song and you know decides that they hate me or they hate my music, then you shouldn't be listening to me in the first place. So I'm just kind of saying, you know, it sort of just stems from a lot of people coming up to me and saying, "So do you live in LA now?" Like as if because I'm a musician and I've had some success that I should obviously move to California, and I don't want to. So that's kind of where that song stems from.
Yeah. And the city himself, do you like it? Do you like Los Angeles?
No,
Yeah,
I don't.
You really don't?
I don't. It's not one of my favorite
I
places.
heard that you were also kind of jealous that they always had good weather.
Well, that's another. Obviously, you
Ironic.
know, you can see that I'm obviously a Canadian who's dealt with 33 years of harsh winters, and I'm just jaded, and you know, jealous of all the people who live in California who don't have to deal with snow.
Yeah, you want to go to the beach.
Yeah, I don't want to go to the
You
beach, so
don't?
you know, but it's my right, you know, my Canadian right
Yeah.
to complain about the weather.
Yeah, speaking of that, it's the first record that you recorded outside of Canada, right?
Yeah, went down to Nashville to record.
And the last song, which is Death Song, which is the obvious closer.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of, I mean, but again, when I read things about that, people think it's about death, but it's not. It's about the death of this. It's about the idea as a musician and a songwriter. It's about the idea of what happens when you stop listening. What happens to me when you become uninterested in what I do? Where do I go from there? You know, because ultimately, you know, in this business or you know, in this this is what we do. There's only maybe like a handful of bands that have been able to last for 50 years or whatever. So I kind of think sometimes I just think about that. You know, is there another stage in my life still to come that I don't know what that is yet? And that's what that song is about.
Do you have the answer to those questions?
No. That's the question of, you know, no one knows the answers to what lies in the future, right? You can just think about it.
Yeah, but maybe there's some stuff that you would like.
No, I'm
I'm
not interested really in anything else. So, but I'm open. You know, I don't know if something will arise or present itself. Maybe then I'll move into that. But for now, this is what I do. But I do question things like that. And like I said, I write songs when it comes to me.
Great. Well, do you have anything else to add about the Harley and the Harm?
I don't think so. I think we covered it. You know.
Okay. Well, thank you so much
Thank you.
for talking to us.
Thanks for having me.
This is my day.